All right, everybody, and welcome to another special live stream exclusive here from the Smash News Network, Least Busted. Name and News. I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho, and we're going to do a little bit of a news crawl. So this video was initially streamed live to Twitch, twitch.tv/smAsho, and after that, it was uploaded both to YouTube and to BitChute. Anybody watching on either of those platforms and not the other one ought to be watching them both, as there's exclusive content on both. And the most of our content shows up on YouTube. If you're only watching on BitChute, you're missing like 80% of it. Allow me to, and make sure you press like and subscribe, lest we vanish into thin air. Speaking of thin air, this is some very lightweight air here. Yeah, lots of water. The lowest pressure zones carry the most water, folks. Yeah, low pressure. Heavy rains here north of Atlanta. And we'll zoom in a little bit farther here on the... This is the radar.weather.gov map. Great radar animation there. And we're mainly doing a news crawl today. Let's just zoom out so we can see the rest of the country. And if you're viewing from a different location, let us know. Perhaps we'll do your weather as well. And we're already getting some of the effects from this up here, I believe. We'll show you the water vapor map at the end of the video if we remember. So let's just head to some rather questionable news sources like CBS News and see what it is they're covering. It's time to do a news crawl. And just a fair warning to you folks, as a result of doing stuff like actually looking at the news, it could cause me to have to utilize the rage cam. So just a fair warning, if you see this view come up, it's probably because I'm gonna start yelling. So that's usually the reason that happens. So yeah, normally you'll see this view. But if you see this view, that means that I'm probably going to start ranting. And I need to get farther away from the mic so as to not yell into it. Yes, no voice changer software going on here. So yeah, let's go from the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News, to, shall we say, a less reputable name in news, CBS. And every time I come to their page, I always laugh and marvel at the hilarity of this giant header that they have. Look at that. It's a behemoth. What a monstrous behemoth. I think I'm going to put our logo ahead of this so that we have less likelihood of seeing any sort of trouble regarding things like YouTube monetization. So we'll just scroll down past their giant... Look at this heaving header. It's as giant as the corporatocracy that pays for their commercials. What a disaster. CBSnews.com if you'd like to see the disaster yourself. By the way, they did show a map there showing the Taliban in control of nearly all of Afghanistan, if you're wondering. So a nervous calm takes hold in the Taliban's Afghanistan. Of course, it's very calm in that at least 30,000 people are being evacuated right now for assistance to the U.S. government over the past 20 years. And what a move, what a move. That's quite the tactical move there, folks. That's quite the tactical move, pulling out just before the September 11th 20-year anniversary of 9/11. So I'm sure everybody will be delighted about that, and no need to turn on the rage cam now. Not at the moment, as this is the sort of thing you would expect as Babylon Bee articles start to look more like reality than the, quote, news, end quote. More top stories. Travelers are canceling their plans. Again, they're canceling trips because certain people are on acid trips, apparently. There's, I think, even more delusion about about you, COVID. COVID, there's even more delusion about you than there was last year at this time, I think. New Zealand has just shut down large swaths, if not the whole country, because of one case. So you may see a recent meme that's only like a half hour old when we stream this video on our Instagram and on our Twitch and on our Facebook pages, so follow us there if you don't yet do so. And yes, we largely are not banned from social media, as I'm not idiotic enough to not know where the line is in most cases. And you can find links below the video, most likely. So go visit those. And let's go to another news source here. Let's go to HuffPo. Since travelers are canceling trips, oh noes. So there's a lot of fear-mongering, propaganda, and disinformation continuing to go on regarding the Rona, the COVID, or whatever you'd like to call it. And again, another reason to follow us on Instagram is for gems like this. A quote from Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. While we know the Delta is a more dangerous enemy to combat. I can't do an accent, I apologize. While we know that Delta is a more dangerous enemy to combat, the same actions that overcome the virus last year can be applied to beat it again. Let's just reflect on that. I'll go to the rage cam just in case I start yelling about this. Geez, how about if I read that again, folks? Good God. While we know that Delta is a more dangerous enemy to combat, the same actions that overcome the virus last year can be applied to beat it again. Does that sound like insane delusion to you? All right. Is it just my imagination, maybe? Okay, good. I guess it's just my imagination that is insane delusion. Where do you even argue with somebody with premises like this? Where do you even start? Not one bit of it makes the slightest bit of sense. We defeated COVID last year with mask mandates and lockdowns. Therefore, we have to do it this year because we defeated it last. You see where I'm going with this? You see? Okay. Anyway, for that and more of the freshest, most dank memes, another one was produced last night involving Kabul, Afghanistan, and the outrage of Taliban fighters. How dare they enter the capital of the city and not even socially distance or wear masks? They don't seem to be frightened of the Delta variant at all. I'm sure they have smartphones, if you're wondering. All right, let's head to another news source here. We're going to go to HuffPost.com just to enrage our viewers as much as is humanly possible. So let's see what's coming through at HuffPo. A frantic escape. Hundreds of Afghans pack U.S. plane. See, they're only talking about one U.S. plane. That is what you call a packed plane, folks. And there are lots of reasons to flee Afghanistan if you're currently there. I certainly don't blame you if you decide to flee. It seems like it might be a good plan. The flag has been removed from the U.S. Embassy, by the way, if you're wondering. So everybody just kind of was like, this totally is nothing like Saigon at all. It's nothing like the evacuation of Saigon. Except that, well, you be the judge. Let us know in the comments and let us know what you think, whether or not it's exactly like Saigon. So, all right. So let's shift gears here and see what's going on at the HuffPo. Joe Biden plays defense as Afghanistan crumbles. Is the corporatist media throwing Donald Trump, throwing Joe Biden under the bus? I personally wonder if they are. So let us know what you think. U.S. to recommend COVID-19 vaccine at 8 months, sources say. Seems like a lot of work, folks. Are you getting paid? Are you getting massive stipends from the government because you're diagnosing people with COVID? Let us know in the comments. I'm sure there's a... Do you know where the flu went? Can anybody tell me if the flu, dear influenza, if you're watching, would you kindly leave us a comment and tell us where you're hiding so that we know. Have you decided to move into Jeff Bezos's bunker, perhaps? Or, what's going on? What's going on, influenza? Drop us a line. We'll do a Skype interview or something like that with you. COVID? Did you murder influenza? COVID says it didn't murder influenza, folks, so we don't know where it went. It's quite mysterious. It's quite mysterious. Are you... COVID? I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave. All right. So let's see what else we've got going on here. So yeah, we're at HuffPo. Please let us know if you know of a website. Is there a website like drfauci.com? Because that's where I would set my homepage to that. All right, let's see what else is going on here. How about oh, I don't know. How about cnbc.com/markets? Have you noticed the recent upswing in crypto? Have you seen some support levels bypassed? Yeah, some support levels. Are you wondering what Bitcoin is at? Bitcoin's at $46,471 per Bitcoin, making a huge comeback from its recent lows of, what's that? The support level there was 30,000, so up $16,000 from its recent lows on some 3-month highs, something like that. So that was the 1-year chart of Bitcoin. Here's the we're going to show Ethereum also. Here's Ethereum as reported by Coinbase. I don't know what the last exchange was. It's not all that much of a concern at these levels. Anyway, there's Ethereum seeing a steeper run up and a smaller trough here. So that's the 1-year chart of Ethereum. And also we're going to look at stellar lumens as they have run up as well. Bitfinex. Here's the stellar lumens quote from Bitfinex. A bit of a similar chart here. Just reaching back up to support levels. So this is lagging. And this is the number 3 held cryptocurrency on Coinbase. That's number 3. It's worth like $9 billion. Let's see if it has the quote here. Why don't you have a quote? Anyway, it's something like $9 billion. And this recent run-up here is on 5.1 million stellar lumens traded. So significant volume there for the 3rd most held cryptocurrency on Coinbase. All right, so let us know what else you're talking about in the comments. We're going to move on to some other stories here. Maybe a little bit more provocative. Who knows? Maybe a little bit more trusted. Maybe a little bit less. Again, I have no idea. Let me get CBS News out of my browsers. Ouch, it opened multiple tabs. Let's go to a news source that our viewers will probably appreciate a little bit more, which is why you're watching the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. How about some articles from Zero Hedge? So zerohedge.com. Talking about Afghanistan and people evacuating like lemmings running off of a cliff. U.S. retail slayers sales get slayed. U.S. retail sales slump in July as stimmy spending stalls. Oops, where did all that stimmy money go? What happened to all your stimmy cash? What, aren't you using it anymore? What's wrong? What seems to be the problem? All right, continuing on here. According to ZeroHedge.com, women reappear on Afghan TV. Burqa shops reopen as Taliban, quote, restores order, end quote, in Kabul. And Dems eye aid for refugees. Yes. Pretty sure the U.S. government is in the process of exporting 30,000 from the country of Afghanistan, as there's a massive complex of people who were helping the U.S. So now if they're identified as having anything to do with the U.S., somehow I think that they may be in for some bad times ahead. So that's what's going on with that, if you're wondering. I won't get deep into the geopolitics of it. U.S. industrial production surges in July. Back to COVID. Back to when I was able to speak the English language. Back to pre-COVID lockdown levels. So that's some good signs for you there. Perhaps we'll see a reduction in inflation. Maybe prices won't spike as much as we expect. And don't get the too confused, folks. Inflation is more money being added to the supply. Price hikes are price hikes so that capital investors can keep themselves ahead of money printing. All right, so here's what we were talking about earlier. This case out of New Zealand, and it's literally a case. Don't break out your AKs because it's only about a case. Oh, apparently it's time to lock down a whole country because of one case of COVID. What do you think about that, folks? Let us know in the comments. It's a case. Is it even a symptom? I don't know. Why is it that cases are so relevant or so allegedly relevant? I don't quite understand it. But it seems like complete insanity. So here's this great chart here. Oh, man. Let me put that on the full screen. Hopefully that will display. It's going to take me to the guy's Twitter. The Twitter interface is about as elegant as it's about as elegant as a pizza oven as an execution device. Don't laugh. It's a real thing that ISIS did. All right, so yeah. Here we go. Forget about that. We're putting this on the screen. Nationwide lockdown ordered because of one case by Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, which marked the country's harshest lockdown in more than a year, given the, quote, strong possibility, not proof, not any sort of genetic sequence showing that it's the Delta variant, but the strong possibility. She asked New Zealanders not to go outside for any reason unless absolutely necessary. And look, I'm still not on RageCam. The case was recorded in New Zealand's most populous city, Auckland. Because of the risk that it's a Delta case, New Zealand is, quote, justified, end quote, in going, quote, hard and fast, which is what she said, with a snap lockdown to try and contain the spread. Oh, well done. You're so proactive, New Zealand. Oh my God. Jacinda, you're totally not a complete COVIDiot. Pardon my sarcasm. You are keeping people safe. Let's put you back on the screen again. Well done. Slow claps for Jacinda Ardern. Well done. Now everybody is so safe there. And thanks for that. And thanks to all of our New Zealand viewers. I'll just say you're welcome from the gracious Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Putting the der in Ardern is Jacinda. Quote, while we know that Delta is a more dangerous enemy to combat, the same actions that overcome the virus last year can be applied to beat it again. They beat it so bad that it's still around, folks. They housed that virus last year with masks and lockdowns. So now they're gonna Anyway, look what happened to their currency as a result. That's their currency in relation to the U.S. dollar. And by the way, for everybody out there who's wondering why it is that the U.S. dollar isn't all that weak, it's because of the rest of civilization. What do I mean by that? Well, the rest of civilization is almost entirely, not including Syria, on fiat currency, backed by, quote, nothing, end quote. Although it is backed by something, reputation, promises to repay debt. The sovereignty of sovereign nations versus banana republics and so on are the reason why the U.S. dollar doesn't see that much weakness. Why? So let me just give you some more examples. You really think that the yen or the euro or the British pound is superior to the U.S. dollar? I mean, guess again. Guess again. And as far as the U.S. not being the world's economic powerhouse anymore, good luck with that. The U.S. is vastly more nimble. The people are extremely well equipped, well informed, educated, skilled, talented, trained. All kinds of equipment, all kinds of capital investment already sitting around just waiting to be turned on again. So if you think the U.S. ain't going to come back from the little economic hardships that it's been facing recently, you're just deluded. So what else can we cover? We can cover some more news here from Zero Hedge, perhaps. And futures slide on growing lockdown fears ahead of retail sales miss. Well, there you go. Some more fear-mongering, largely caused by propaganda from the mainstream media. A series of yellow dog journalists who, like many types of businesses, are unable to do their own jobs. So how about another slow clap here? Let's just do another slow clap. There's no need to rant or rage. There's no reason to even turn on the rage cam. Well done, NPR, PBS, NBC, ABC, Fox News, MSNBC, CNBC, CBS. Did I forget to mention CNN? And congratulations to all you drones out there. All you drones out there unable to stitch two coherent thoughts together in a row. Congratulations especially to you. If you are out there and you're just reciting the talking points of Don Lemon and Brian Stelter and other journalists on CNN, well, more power to you. You know what I mean? Send them an offer letter that you can offer them your services. Maybe become a contractor. Become a satellite office of CNN. Then you can be part of the most trusted name in news, as opposed to being associated with the least busted name in news, the Smash News Network, because we don't want you on the payroll anyway. If you're some kind of a hack journalist whose only job is to just read news and not look at any data ever, we laugh in your general direction. Whether or not your mother was a hamster or your father smelt of elderberries is an entirely different story. We're going to switch gears entirely now and spend a brief moment back on the weather map. Because, well, there's some interesting stuff happening. A massive pressure gradient is crossing the state of Georgia, and this is the cause of it's the cause of the motion of this storm. And there's really not that much moisture left. If you look there, folks, it's not all that moist. Some of the moisture stayed behind in Florida as the system sort of broke apart into like 3 separate areas of moisture. Now, of course, for all you fearmongers out there, this is scary because this does form a triangle. So there could be a 6 at every one of these triangular points. Or it could be because, chemtrails and HARP are trying to promote some sort of a globalist depopulation agenda, or perhaps something like that. So maybe that's why somebody decided to draw a triangle with like an 800-mile side width. And of course, the only thing more scary than an isosceles triangle, folks, is an equilateral triangle, which is what it looks like is going on here. So If there's anything to be frightened of, that's definitely on the list. And oh, geez, we didn't want to show that. Oh my God, we certainly didn't want to show that, as that is a mess. We're just going to put the Doppler radar back on here. So just give that a minute to load. So yeah, that should give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on with the storm track if the Doppler is insufficient. And thanks for leaving a comment, by the way, Calavera's girl. Yes, Calavera's gal, thanks for leaving a comment. Cheers. We applaud you right back. And you got a rare opportunity to see my OBS software, the thing that nightmares are made of. Just kidding, folks. It is fantastic. And maybe we'll even do a tutorial one day so that you can make videos almost as good as the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. All right, so we're going to head back to the U.S. Doppler radar map here again. Just give me a minute to get this loaded as we are streaming live. There we go. There's the zoomed out view. And we'll zoom in on that same location that we were looking at on the water vapor map here. As this is the strongest series of storms, there were some tornado. There was at least one tornado warning in south central Georgia. That's the still image. Here is the animation. I prefer it. What say you, the viewer? There's a pretty good spot. And I think it's a good day to bring up the satellite imagery as well. It should look quite spectacularly. We'll bring that up on Windy.com since it's so full of features. So there you go. There's the Windy.com satellite map. And we'll zoom in on the cloud layer down there to see what's going on. Zoom way in on the state of Georgia. And we did a meteorology segment earlier on this as well. We don't want to cover too much weather stuff. YouTube.com/smashomash/playlists. And you can see the great sunrise shadows created by all these clouds. And the great gradation of these major systems. And you can see here there's a real intrusion of this dry mass of air right in this area. Look at the gradient of these clouds right here. Huge atmospheric waterfall going on in that area, as that low pressure air cannot sustain the mass of that dry air. Great view there of the satellite. So again, there's the Doppler. I'll zoom out a little bit to give you a little bit greater view of the entire system. And it looks like we're actually already getting a bit of the spin-off from this up here in Pennsylvania. A lot of moisture there all the way from Tampa to just reaching into New Hampshire. And shout out to Mr. Keebler, dropped me a line on doing a cover. What was the other one? Born to be Wild? There was a second one too. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, once again, here's the water vapor map showing that great pressure gradient going on. And this is sort of like a miniature jet stream going on right here. So despite it being coming in from the south here, it's still providing an impulse to keep pushing this system north. And frankly, it's draining it of moisture. So we saw dry air over the Gulf and some cool water in the Gulf as well, which was a dead giveaway that it was going to weaken the system. So that was good. We saw the forecast for flooding drop down significantly, and indeed we forecasted it a little bit ahead of time there to try to give our viewers a little bit of a heads up. Anyway, that's today's live stream. Thanks for tuning in, viewers. Don't forget to visit the links below the video, lest we vanish into thin air. And we'll see you next time at the smAsho News Network. Least busted. Naming news.